We have on the schedule 3 things. One, we're going to hear a little bit of a testimony from Dr. Baker about NASDAD and how he's integrated with, or interfaced with it through the years and how it's helped him. We know how he's helped Ed. And then we're going to hear from Dr. Lund, Pug Lund, if I can say that. A gentleman who can fill us in on a lot of the history of NASDAD, and I am looking forward to that very much, hearing about it. Okay. And then the third thing that was scheduled was a kind of an update on the School of Dentistry from the Dean, Dr. Rob Handysides. He's not here today, and unfortunately and sadly, he has not been able to come. He had to change his ticket. And the reason is because he had a medical emergency within his family that was concerning enough that he shouldn't leave home. Now, at this point, it looks like everything's going to turn out really well, so I'm not very terribly concerned about it, but it's just something that he couldn't leave and had to change. So he asked me to say 3 things, and I'll say them pretty quickly, I think. As far as the School of Dentistry, change is inevitable and continuing. We have a fairly new administrative team with Rob moving into the deanship, Dr. Esty being the academic dean. Esther Valenzuela is now the Dean of Student Affairs and Admissions, and Paul Richardson remains for the clinic administration, and Dr. Nate where's Leroy? Steve Morrow, thank you. Steve Morrow is in charge of advanced education in the graduate program. The changes that have been made in the undergraduate program is primarily centered around coalescing some of the dental programs that were semi-autonomous in the past. They have taken perio, restorative dentistry, I think to some extent undergraduate ed though, or am I wrong about that? And put them together in a division of general dentistry. And the idea is that these everyday subjects that are handled by general dentists should probably be coordinated together as one. And so that's happened on the clinic floor. In the very near future, there will be some changes in the international dental program. It is becoming much more integrated into the regular undergraduate program. So basically, I think after a little orientation, the international dental students will be integrated into the D3 class, and for the last couple years, they'll run pretty much together. There is one graduate program that is closing, and that's the general anesthesia training program. This has been probably, in my estimation, it's the best in the nation. It's been a very, very good program, and the graduates from anesthesia are highly recognized and very successful around the world, around the country, I guess. And it's a sad day to see that program close, but there are several things that have come together to cause that. And one is a ruling by the state of California, apparently, that has made it so that the residents are faculty and have to be paid and have to get the same benefits as a faculty member. And for a training program, that's kind of a big burden to bear. In addition to that, the ruling has been that it become a 3-year program instead of a 2-year program. So the number of residents has increased quite a bit. And so financially it's become very difficult or impossible to keep that program open. The plan is to continue the general anesthesia clinic as a service to the community, and the expectation is that that will continue on, but the training program is in teach out, and the students, the residents who are now there will all be graduating next a year from last January, or sorry, July, and then there will be no more program, at least for a while. There is hope that in the future there will be a way to reconstitute that training program and to continue it, but at this time there's no real vision of how that would happen. Generally, the school is doing well. There's an atmosphere of progress, of change, of responsiveness, and students are getting a good education, and I think it's going to be even better in the future. There are a number of changes that may take place. The people that are there right now are not afraid of change. They're not afraid of improving things, and I'm expecting that Lund School of Dentistry will go on from strength to strength. I'm looking forward to the future there. Okay, that's what I have to say for our dean, and I hope he approves and never hears about it. Dr. Baker, can I ask you to take this from me?
Sure.
And we look forward to hearing it.
Thank you. I don't have any exciting stories of the mission fields at all today. I was moved and touched by the testimony and witness this morning, as probably all of you were. It was fantastic. But I did want to let you know that NASDAD, Brian, just like you said in the, who has a program? Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Here, I'm gonna quote it. Not you. That's the one I'm looking for right there. Yeah, there we go. Message from the president. Here it is. I love most about what I love most about NASDAD is hearing how God is working in each of your lives, blessing you, your families, and your practices each day. And that's what this little story is about, and I'll try and make it quick. Thank you. So, and Terry, you can, my wife's back here, and she's going to do this if I'm saying the wrong thing or doing it in the wrong order. But close to 30 years ago, God, through somebody, nudged us to join NASDAD. Don't remember hearing much about it when I was in school, graduated in '76. But, so we've been a member for a long time. Didn't know how that was going to affect my life now. And so as I moved into it, and I was reminded into the twilight of my career, and you know how it is, whether you plan for the future or not, the future still happens. And so I wanted to be responsible in the way that I left my staff and my patients. And I wanted to do that in the hands of somebody that I got to work with for a few years. Well, I found out that my little 4-chair office wasn't going to let me do that. And so I said those expensive words, I need a bigger office. And so we built the bigger office, and I don't know if you'd call it stupid or stepping out in faith, but anyway, got the bigger office and tried, praying about, Lord, bring me somebody that I can work with. Bring me somebody I can work with. And then I'd get off my knees and I'd run and try to answer my own prayer. Because I'm a smart guy, right? I can find the right guy. And it didn't work. A couple of times it didn't work out. So my wife coached me and she says, I think you're praying the right prayer, but I'm pretty sure that if there's somebody that belongs here and that God wants to bring here, he doesn't need your help.
Amen.
Okay? She said, why don't you just stay out of the way? So I did. And a little over a year ago, I got an email from that lady right there. And Katie said, I'd like to introduce a young man to you, and he would like to talk to you. And now this is where I might get some of the timing out of the way, and I'll try and get this moving right along. Austin Owen, who was class president of the senior class at the time, walked into Katie's office and was telling her a story. And he says, I was all set to move to North Carolina and start practice with Tristan. Was it Hamilton? Yeah. Tristan, okay. And it was all set. It was in concrete just about. And he said, we were going there because an hour away was my in-laws. My wife's parents were there. And then our daughter was going to have grandpa and grandma close by. And we're planning on more kids, and it was going to be great. And now my father-in-law has taken a job in some town called Sonora, California. And Katie says, oh, that's where Dr. Baker works. And he said, who's Dr. Baker? And I can't remember all the wonderful things you told him about me, but probably mostly about my wife, Terry. But anyway, he had no connection with anybody in Tuolumne County, but felt like it was worth at least looking into so that he could pursue staying close to Cassia's parents. In the meantime, Tristan heard about that Lyndon and Elaine, Yvonne, I always say that wrong. Thank you. I knew she would coach me. So the Gallimores, the in-laws to Austin, that he had heard that they had moved to California. So he was gracious enough to call Austin and say, Austin, I understand that the reason for you to come to us has moved to California. And so he said, you know, I would urge you to pray about this, and you need to go where you need to go. So anyway, it was about a week later, they came up to see, I'll try and not get this too confusing for you. So Austin and Cassia came up to Sonora to visit her parents who had made the move. They were freshly there, and he had made arrangements to meet me. Now, I had not told Katie that I was looking for somebody, and I did not tell Austin before we met. He just wanted to call and stop in and meet me. And we talked for about an hour in my office one evening. And after about an hour, I kind of just get this little nudge. This might be my guy. And so I said, you know, Austin, I'm looking for somebody. He said, really? I said, yeah, really. And I said, but there's one gauntlet you have to get through first before I even consider you. Oh, what's that? I said, my staff. So you need to come and spend the day with them and eat lunch with them. He canceled school, sorry for any of the faculty. He canceled school the following Wednesday, flew up, rented a car, came to my office and spent the entire day and one-on-one did interviews with them so that they could actually interview him. And they all gave him a thumbs up. In the meantime, Tristan, he was planning on a remodel to accommodate, and that's what I talked to Tristan about being here with me and see if we get this timing right, but they were going to add on to their office 3 operatories. They were going to add more hygiene time, all of this other stuff to accommodate Austin and his family. Well, lo and behold, the contractor came to Austin. He says, you know what, I just took on a 2-year job. I can't do your add-on. The hygienist said, you know what, I've changed my mind. I'm retiring. And all of a sudden, the doors started slamming shut at that end, and doors were opening for Austin at my end. And it's like, yeah, when you pray and then just let God be God, it kind of works. So that's my testimony. NASDAD, just thank you. You know, Katie was our angel, and you know, doing nothing but sharing and networking. You know, but impacting lives. And so Austin and I are. He's been at my office now for 3 months, and working hard so I can be here. But if you talk to Austin and his wife, they will tell you that it was a God thing too. And if you talk to Tristan, he will tell you the exact same thing. Thank you very much. Uh-oh, I left something out.
No, you nailed it. But the part you left out was that there's lots of us that have these opportunities, and Katie knows us all, and filter them through her. And if you know someone who needs a student, who needs an associate or whatever it might be, a hygienist, an assistant, you know, whatever things, that's one of the things that our group can really get involved with and connect the next group of students and the next group of NASDAD leaders into the system. And this is just a fantastic story, and we could have talked for an hour and a half on all the little pieces that I remember hearing from both you and from Austin 2 years ago, and from Tristan on that one bit. So it's pretty fantastic.
If I could dovetail on that, I recommend Austin to put them in school.
Yeah.
High recommendation. The other thing is a lot of the students are being tempted by these corporate offices, and the more offers we have from bona fide members or leads will benefit the graduating seniors. So please follow through.
Yeah, I don't know if you all heard, he was just kind of saying the same thing. He's at the school, worked with Austin, a good guy, and same thing, if we can keep these students moving in the right direction, this extra boost will just set them so far ahead in their career. I mean, same thing with me when I started, to have a mentor right out of school from Loma Linda to keep us moving is invaluable, so it's fantastic.
Thank you for saying that, because he said the right thing to me. He said, Dr. Baker, I said, you can call me Steve. He said, sorry, the old school habit. He said, I need you to mentor me, to teach me. Because he had done his research about me, and I had the type of practice that he was interested in. So he said, I want to learn your way. Well, that's how he's going to fit, right? That's
Right.
how he's going to fit. So, yeah.
I didn't mean to stand up and steal the thing. Doesn't even say president on there when I took over. So I think it's your turn.
Are you sure about
I'm
that?
going to be quiet and let you do it.
Well, that's,
But I'm gonna
that's
hang
our
on to
bullshit.
this.
That's ominous.
Thank you.
How did you get to be called Pug? That takes another story.
Oh.
But I want to hear it. But it's a good one. When I was in the academy up at Auburn. Somebody else been to Auburn? Boy, you're a good bunch. I knew something about you I liked. But the group I ran around with, don't say there were cliques at these places, but the group that I ran around with determined that everybody should have a nickname. And particularly being, my name is Melvin, and who names their cat Melvin? So therefore I was subject for change. And it so happened that the University of Minnesota, there's an All-American football player. He wasn't big, but he was good. His name is Pug Lund. So they quickly transposed what they saw in that newspaper article to me, and I've been Pugland ever since. Now, it's strange. I've been to Mammoth, for example. When you go to Mammoth, you wear clothes that make you look a little bigger, and that's appropriate. But somebody saw me in Pugland and said, "Are you the Pugland from Minnesota?" That's strange. So actually, we lived about 30 miles apart, because I was at he was at Rice Lake, and I was at Siren, Wisconsin. So this whole thing is sort of a strange situation. I've never met the guy, but I've been to the University of Minnesota and I saw where his marker is located. And yes, he was good, and he was all-American. And I remember one time we were at Lake Powell, and rented a houseboat, and my wife was waiting up the top of the hill, and somebody was there and mentioned that he'd gone to Purdue. Well, of course, people from IU never talk to people from Purdue, sort of thing, because that's against our religion. But nonetheless, he said, "You might remember me. I'm one of the Purvis twins." And had twins, and both of them played. They were both all-American. At the same time, the Pugland played. He said, "Did you ever play against Pugland?" "Yeah, I did." And you might remember the Purvis twins. He was the one that shot and killed John Dillinger. So, part of history, in a sense, in many ways, that sort of thing. And I remember John Dillinger came roaring past our place in Wisconsin, trying to get away from the police, and he did. He got caught up later in Chicago. But that's how I got the name, and Pugland stuck with me. I don't know why. I didn't insist on it, but it did work. And it's been my moniker 56 years, 70 years. Oh, it's getting old. Before I go any further, I'd like to do one thing. No, I'm not going to get soft on you. But over the years, yes, I'm a former officer of this organization. But I never came alone. And I have no choice anymore, because that's how things are. When you live long enough, these things happen. And so, I still treasure, she passed away about less than 2 years ago, and reminded me of Bob Hope. Whenever he closed his presentation, he said, "Thanks for the memory. A fault that you forgave. Rainbows on a wave. Oh, thank you so much." And that's where I'm at. I'm in those memories, and they're important. But don't tell me they never happened. You don't have to infer anything. So I'm not trying to hide anything. Bill here, you can tell me the same thing, I'll bet you.
Absolutely.
But that's how it is, and when we get to that stage in life, we don't know what else to do about it. Just go along with the flow. Miserable, but it's what it is. So, thanks for the memories.
Amen.
Each of you are part of that, in a sense. Now, for the main reason why I'm here, and why I think it's the reason they got me here, but this is going to be my story. It isn't a vague thing about an organization, be it named NASDAD. It'll show up. But this is my personal story. And it becomes your role to try to fit where the dental school fits in this story. I'm not going to tell you where it is. I may have some ideas. And they're pretty good ones. But nonetheless, the ball's in your court while you listen to me. And along with that, I would love to have heard the story of Webb Prince. He's a great storyteller. Ralph Stromberg, Ralph Steinman, Harold Schnepper, Lloyd Vaughn. he had stories, but I don't know if he ever told any of them. But each of us has a story. And just so happens that dental school fits in it somewhere. It's hard to say where or how. But it isn't as if some general conference committee sat down and ordained that dental school get started. That's not how it happened. So, try to keep in mind, keep things clear, and listen for events that might suggest that dental school fits here. It has to. I'm the only one living who can do this. So I don't take any pride in that, that's just a fact of life. It's been a good ride, regardless of what my story might suggest. It's been a good ride. And many of you played a vital part in that. And being part of the teaching cadre at Lund, it's more than just a job. I can't imagine any of us, those that are there today, I can't imagine just, it's not a job. It's a profession, and that's where your life is, sort of thing. So along the way, there are a lot of other people that get involved in the act. One of my heroes, and I'm a World War II veteran. I tried my best to get Hitler to do something else, but it didn't work. One of my heroes is Winston Churchill. He has his flaws, but he's still my hero. And I remember an incident that he reports and comments about. Some of the good ladies of the church were concerned about his intake of alcoholic beverage. And so to illustrate their point, they put a mark, I don't know how far from the floor, on the chapel that they were in. Probably quite a ways because it's late in life. And so they cornered Churchill and said, do you realize if we'd measured all the alcohol that you drank that you'd come up to here? Winston looks at that line and looks at the ceiling. So far to go, and so little time. Now, I sympathize with him in the sense of his feeling about time, because I can't do a thing about it. But nonetheless, it's part of the thing that we deal with. And if you hear the stories of these people, because Prince Stromberg, Schnepper, Baumann, and Stein, and myself, we're the original group that put this thing together. We're the ones that put it in motion. But you never heard their story. I'd like to have heard them. I never did. I'd love to hear their stories. And how the dental school fits in their perspective. Because that's what it is. It isn't, it's got to be somewhere that is. Okay, my story, and this is mine, starts in 1932 in an itinerant dental office in Siren, Wisconsin, far north part of the state. I'm a patient in a dental chair. And I have to hand it to my mother, because I sure wouldn't have thought of it. She had me make sure that I got some kind of dental care. It probably wasn't great, but she got something out of it. So I was discussing the future of my molar as I sat in that dental chair. And obviously I'm thinking back, it must have been an exposure. And the options were, do we treat it or do I extract it? I didn't want to lose anything. I sat there with tears running down my cheeks. I didn't like the idea of losing anything. I decided to treat it. You want to know something? I still have that molar. Some graduate student put a crown on it. It It's not ceramic. I'm sorry about that, folks. But it's a well-worked wood that's been there all these years. So the things that you do are important. This guy, I think, won't have me back there. Treated a member of his family 9 years ago. I just found out today that I solved the problem. Now, how good is that? That's what you guys do. Solve problems. And don't put it lightly because it says an awful lot of it. It did to me today. I was yiked. I didn't think of that 40 years ago when I did it. But that's where your work takes you. That's where it has to go. So, my background at that time was I'm a student in a one-room country school, not church. And I walk to school, and it's uphill both ways. You understand that? I had a mother that was doing the best she could, but she had a stroke. And I'm a 7th grader, and I have no idea what I did. Can you imagine eating a lunch that I made? I don't want to even think about it. It wasn't very good, I'm very sure of that, but I lived through it. But one funny thing, not a funny thing, but I had great teachers. Looking back, I know they're just terrific people. And one of them said to me, when I was a 7th grader, I like getting good grades, it isn't so okay. Says, you can be whatever it is you want to be. Can you imagine that, looking at a kid with patched overalls? In a schoolroom? Only one room? But you can be whatever it is. And what's more, I believed her. But at the same time, I had some flaky ideas. Because this is the time that the Dean brothers, Daffy and Dizzy just won the World Series with the Detroit Tigers in 1934. And I was thinking, there must be some way I can improve my talents over that of his. Look at my size, that's a ridiculous idea. So that's not going anywhere. Unfortunately, it didn't, and I didn't have to worry about it for too long. So I kept my cool. Trouble is, my mother, we left the state of Wisconsin, going to Oregon, and we went by my mother's parents' place, and she had another stroke there and died. So in essence, she was born, got married, and died in the same house. It didn't dawn on me too much what that was all about, but it doesn't escape me from the standpoint. Now looking back on it sometime later, probably God ordained it. She did not have the stamina to take care of the life that was in front of her. Was it anything unusual? No, not necessarily. But it was frontier living, including the harvesting of ice for survival. So, she lies buried in a church on the edge of the prairie. Strange thing, Marg, some years ago, decided she wanted to be near my mother at that time so she could have a conversation with her at the resurrection day. I trust it'd be favorable. Not sure, but that's where she is. And we understand that. And so, at that time, we ended up going to Auburn Academy. I didn't even know where it was, because we were near Portland. And we ended up going, my aunts and uncles drove me up to Auburn, And for the first time in my life, I was in a building that had running water and electricity all at the same time. And that was pretty novel. I didn't realize what the world was doing. But so I was able to make my way into our educational system. I wouldn't have it any other way. I was able to go to work in what they held the woodwork factory. Child labor laws weren't quite so stringent at that time. So at age 15 or 14, I was able to do some work. And I worked my way through Auburn Academy to the point where I even got my own clothes. I'm not a fashion plate, you understand, but nonetheless, I was able to get my own clothing, my own spending money, and I made it through. So, at Auburn, I still figured good grades was a virtue of some sort. It must be worth something. And yeah, I did okay. I had a class of 60, 70. I was co-valedictorian of the class. So obviously I caught fire somewhere along the line and managed to keep things straight. It seems like the natural thing to do. Having graduated from Auburn, I went back to my home base, Welch's, Oregon, tried to accumulate some money for Walla Walla. Now, my dad and brother worked in a wildcat tie mill area. And so that's where I was going to head up and do the same thing. So I got a job at a mill, a place called Welch's, Oregon. Now, if you're going to do this, there's a terminology that you have to understand. It wasn't in vogue at that time. I'm sure it is. This is before chainsaws. So everything can come down the hard way. So you have to understand the term followers and buckers, cats and cat skinners, chokers and choker setters, spar trees, high lines, palm monkeys, green chains, sawyers. That was my vocabulary at that location. And I jolly well knew what every one of them did. Sort of thing. My role at that time was to assist the guy who was called the cutoff man. Because the logs and trees would be delivered by the high line and come down the mountain and drop near us. And by the way, we were conscious of danger. Danger is constant with us. And some people are thinking of Alma Baum's first husband got killed in that sort of situation. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't good. So my role was to take a cable out. When the tree was dropped at my feet, 20 feet away, but and attach a cable to it, and we'd drag it down and cut them off into 16-foot logs and throw it and shove them into the pond. And then the sawyer would control how the logs would come out and be put on the ratchet and go on for there. One afternoon, for whatever reason, the guy I worked with, because I wasn't running the saw, by the way, I was just the assistant, he lit into me like I could not believe. He tore me up one side and down the other, and he was not a church-going logger, so he had pretty good invective. I don't remember the words, fortunately, but it was there. It's a point you might want to remember. I did not say one word. I didn't retaliate. No virtue on my part, don't misunderstand. But I didn't, because I needed the money. I didn't want to take a chance on being kicked off the force. So, when he was through, I went back to work. Interject here something, it's totally unrelated. When I was a kid, I used to enjoy the legends of Paul Bunyan and his Blue Ox Babe. Strange. He was a very successful logger, and you should look at South and North Dakota, you can see what I mean. There are no trees there. He was working in Minnesota, Wisconsin when I caught up with him. Now, Paul Bunny was a big man, a big guy, but he was fast. He would stand at the end of a 30-foot bunkhouse, blow out the candle at that end, and be in his bunk before the light went out. Walla Walla is a different story now. I had to adjust from what was going on in Auburn. And when I found out it took more energy to gain results at Walla Walla. And they became important because I needed to get an acceptance into some school. And by the way, third year at Auburn, I should go back on this. Because of my dad's came by to visit me. He was principal of Broadview Academy up near Chicago. He was surveying the possibility of becoming principal at Auburn. He eventually did, because Mark, my wife, went to school under him about 3 years later. And so when I was walking with me across the ad building, he said, "What are you going to do?" Possible answers. The minister is not of interest to me. My dad wanted me to go into the ministry. No way. And I think they're lucky for me that I didn't. But, so what are you going to do? I said, I think I'll be a physician, be a doctor. Have you ever considered the church could use dentists as part of their repertoire? You want to know something? I've been a dentist ever since that moment. Ever since that moment. Why? I have no idea. But that's the fact. So that was my course from that point forward. And been consistent, and I've had no regrets, by the way, in case anyone wonders. It's worked out perfectly good for me. Now this was happening 1941, became a major event, December 7th. I stood North Hall, Walla Walla, and listened to the commentators as they described the bombs coming out of Japanese planes and falling on Pearl. I'm going to go back and take a look. I've been to the Arizona. I'm going back and take a look at it here next week. It's a spiritual experience for me to do that. I don't know about the rest of you. If you haven't done it, do it. Don't ever go to Oahu unless you go to the Arizona. Because it has something that will retain in your life forever. No question about it. But as I listen to those bombs falling, terrible destruction, I full well knew my life would never be the same. There'd be something that would make it different from that point forward. And that is true. I had to register for the draft, like everybody else did. And I was good enough at school where I got acceptances, both at PNS in San Francisco and at Portland. I wanted Portland because that's where my friends were. So and I got an acceptance and was told to report for dental school in August, maybe July, 1943. One problem. They had an entrance fee of around $400. I didn't have the money. So I kissed them goodbye. I'll say, looking back, that was pretty stupid on my part. And I have no question about that. So, I didn't even bother looking for the money. And since I showed no activity, the draft board decided my future for me. So they told me to enter the Army, which we did. Had a good friend of mine, roommate from Auburn, and went along at the same time. So, dentistry's out the window. It's gone. That's the problem at the time we live in. Don't have to worry about that anymore. As if I ever did. So we go to Camp Barkley, down Abilene, Texas. It isn't a place, I don't want anybody here hurt anybody's feelings, but it's not a place I'd spend a vacation. But for what we were doing, nobody cared. And it worked out pretty well. The most impressive thing about basic training other than the boring long marches that you were on, but even there, it sort of intrigues the 20-year-old like the rest of it. Everybody else in the world is doing the same thing, in a sense. The last week of the cycle, 16-week cycle, you're expected to go out on bivouac some distance from your camp and spend the last week. And so I'm full field pack, all the stuff that the Army gave me, that's on me. I'm standing in formation. And Whitey the corporal says, Lund, fall out and report to company headquarters. Oh, come on. I'm bugging them now. I was a good soldier, by the way. I was a good soldier, among several others. Sort of enjoyed it, did okay. There's one event that I really enjoyed, in a sense, was the infiltration course. Where with full field pack on, you're asked to go through entanglements with machine gun bullets flying over your head. Now, I presume they're at a head beyond where I would stand, but I was not tempted to stand up. Because I was crawling along on all fours to get through all the entanglements that they had laid out there for us. At that time, that was spectacular at night, because they used tracer bullets in some of them, and they just lit up the field like you couldn't believe. And so I'm glad I wasn't in combat. So we enjoyed that standpoint of an experience that we might have. But back down in formation, going out to my bivouac, and it says, Whitey the corporal, Lund, fall out, and report to company headquarters. So I do. I don't want to offend anybody's ears here now a bit. But I open the door to company headquarters, and then the lieutenant says in a loud voice, Lund, you SOB, you're going to dental school. I hadn't met Mark yet. You have to understand, those are the sweetest words I had ever heard. Even though the vernacular is a bit disgusting. And the train leaves in 2 hours. No problem, sir. You don't transport people by plane in those days, either by ship or by train. So, I'm just wondering, wondered then and wondered now, how were my records kept so intact that someone could see them and make sense out of them? It's wartime. We're fighting wars all over the country, all over the world. And I'm one of those people. But nonetheless, my records followed me along, without interruption. After all, no one had to see them, but they did. My prayer life wasn't that great at the time either, I'll have to admit. Well, sometimes He's watching over you, even if you're not paying any attention. And we're grateful for that. We're very grateful for that. Yes, I'm in dental school. 2 days. It took me a couple of days to get back up from Texas up there on the train. and I'm with some of my friends. Yes, I lost a year. No complaint on my part, because I have now no financial problems. Because when my first year of service, they discharged us, but I had GI Bill now, and I could continue on with dental education. And at that time, the GI Bill would cover your dental education. Come now, I don't think it even come close. But I did that. 1944 was a miserable year, in a sense, because we're making a lot of invasions. A lot of our boys are being killed or maimed. But still, the U.S. figured they were going to win. Didn't tell us that. But it seems like that is true. Because in 1945, come May, Germany and the Axis gave up. And that was helpful. Then in August of 45, Harry Truman okays the dropping of the atom bomb. Yeah, that's terrible. Downright terrible. And I'll tell you what was more terrible. The very thought of doing a traditional invasion of Tokyo. The numbers of people who had been killed was fantastic. No question about it. So this was the best way to go. Bad as it is. Bad as it is, it's the best way to go. I graduated from dental school. In the last year, the summer of 46, I met Marg. Met her on a blind date skiing at Mount Hood. She reminded me of this quite often. She didn't really get much better at skiing than she was that, but she was good enough. We enjoyed it, we've been skiing a lot ever since. But she really got a blind date with me to make someone else jealous. It may have worked, I don't know. But I kept pushing the button. Got engaged on 4th of July. Got married 10th of November. So we didn't waste any time. I graduated in October. It puts a different picture on the whole board, doesn't it? Everything becomes different. My social life through dental school was negligible, was next to non-existent. I didn't have any money. I couldn't afford to terminate you girls. I couldn't afford to entertain you. I'm not sure what I'd know what to do if I did. I'm not sure what the score would have been. I wasn't too bright. No question about that either. But nonetheless, everything seemed to go pretty good. We got married a month later, back up in Fort Lewis now, working in the dental clinic. Stayed there for several months and told to report to the Presidio in San Francisco, which is the headquarters of the 6th Army Defense Corps. So I go down there, that's fine. I'm given a clinic at the very south edge end of the Golden Gate Bridge. Can you imagine anything more spectacular? I couldn't. Didn't then. Man, you look down there, Alcatraz and that area, look at that. Wow. So, unfortunately, a couple months later, I'm told I'm to go to Korea. So that's where we go. It's not the happy time in our life. And Mark can't go with me because this is hardship duty area. If I'd gone to Japan, it'd be a little different. Not Korea at that time. So I end up in Korea and take a ship down there at Fisherman's Wharf. And it's a slow boat to China. Have you ever heard the song? Slow boat to China. And this is what it is. I think we're better than two weeks just to go across that pond. Today they do it in hours. That's what they could do. Yeah, I got seasick and all that stuff, and they didn't do anything for you. You didn't have no patches put behind your ear. And that was miserable. But so be it, so be it. I ended up in China, or up in Incheon, South Korea. And it's sort of ironic. You dock the ship, or you anchor the ship at Incheon Harbor. It's 40 miles from Tokyo, from Seoul. There's a big sign in the south end of the harbor. Welcome to the blank port in the Pacific. It's not a nice word, but nonetheless it's there. No, you can't get a ship any closer than half a mile to the dock because the tides are too high. What surprised me also that MacArthur used this same port when he did his counteroffensive activity with the Korean War. And he cut the Koreans off. The main victory. Now, what he ended up going up the Yalu River, I have no idea about that, but that's how it was. So I'm introduced to South Korea. I'm stationed at Chinhae, which is the artillery headquarters for the 6th Division. And that's all well and good. I can hear the artillery practicing. I didn't bother to see them. The thing that I was interested in, the colonel who was in charge, his name was Colonel Gunby, and I thought that was appropriate for an artillery officer. So I was there for several months, then moved to Daegu, which is the headquarters for the infantry. And we did that, and the work is still the same. By the way, I was introduced to 2 Just 60s, which is what comes along with your dental operation. And along with that, you have a field unit, and you have like a sewing machine treadle, and you push the treadle, and that's what operates your dental drill. Not very often, but there are times when the electricity gets shut off. So I'd have my assistant, a Korean lad, he'd stand there and pump on the treadle while I ran the drill. It worked. Surprised me, but it worked. Seems like it shut dentistry back about 20, 30 years, but it still worked it out okay. I ended up being transferred to the infantry, and while there, I spent the afternoon at a leper colony, which is nearby, run by the Presbyterians. It's a discouraging place to go. Reminded me of the Bible. Good grief. This is terrible. And it is. I think it's changed a bit. I hope it has. They're under treatment. How good it was at that time, I couldn't tell you. But it certainly led an impact on me. Jesus dealt with some strange situations that he found here on earth. I got a telephone call from the Seventh-day Adventist Mission in Seoul. They want me to come spend a weekend with them. And that's fine. I had no idea how they found out I was there. But I get a pass and go on the train, go to Seoul, spend a weekend with them. The president of the mission at that time was named Watts. Ralph Watts' name. I've heard the name Ralph Watts attached to something at Loma Linda to him. I think it's his son. I don't know.
There you go.
Well, that's who it was. And we had a great meeting. It was great for me because it's the first time I've been in church for about a year. You miss it. There's nothing to do about it. Yeah, I went to the chapel services. They did the best they could. And then later in the month, I get notice, it's time for you to return to the U.S. So, it's a welcome thing to do. I want to go home. Been there for a year. On the way home, we stopped, the ship stops at Naha on Okinawa. You have no idea of the junk metal that was in that harbor, the remnants of the war. It was terrible. It's rusting and all that stuff. It's gone by now, I'm sure. One thing that happened that's registered with me forever. I went by the battlefield where Desmond Doss did his thing. I've heard him talk, I've never really talked to him. I looked at the terrain. For the life of me, I can't understand how he did what he did. Dragging those people to the face of the parapet and lowering them down to safety. Then say, just one more. Just one more. He did that 75 times. The air was hot with lead all that time. How? You probably have the answer. How in the world could a guy possibly do all that? But he did, and survived. And it's written about by Bill Riley in one of his books. He made an impact, no question about it. I'm going home now, and I'll tell you my feelings are entirely different as I went under the Golden Gate Bridge this time as when I came the other way. We had a wonderful reunion. Say nothing more about that. We ended up starting practice in a place called Camas, Washington. It's pretty good to me. Things are going well. Mark finds a house overlooking the Columbia, overlooking the Sound. And she makes a statement and says, if you buy this house from me, I'll never wish for another thing. I knew she wasn't telling the truth. But I understood her mentality, her emotions and that. So our practice evolves like a practice should. And by this time I'm hearing about a thing called NASDAD. This is the first time I've heard of it. I don't know who you are or what you're doing. And neither did they, I don't think. But this is all coming out of the East. And we were the West. You're not going to listen too much to people from the East, are we? No. But that's another story. But they wanted to have a couple of guys from the East were coming. It was Ross Stromberg and Gerald Mitchell. So we had an event up in Lake Washington near Seattle. And it was pretty well attended. It was on a cruise. And we agreed Adventists need a dental school. In today's climate, you might say, why? You wonder why. It probably wouldn't work today. I don't know. But in that setting, there were very few places where you could go to dental school on Sabbath without having dental school on Sabbath. I'll talk to you about just in a minute. Because he's got a story. In So obviously, the Adventists need a dental school to go along with the medical school. So we're assuming that this will happen. So we agreed on that, and we returned to Portland area to go home. The next day, I get a call from Ross Stromberg. He wants to come on and visit with me and Barb. Well, that's nice and friendly. I don't know the guy. Nice and friendly him to come just want to visit with us? Yeah, okay. So Martin invites him to breakfast the next day. He comes. Bear in mind the picture now. As we're sitting at breakfast by our picture window in this modern home, as you look straight south, you look over the Columbia River. Magnificent. You look at the area by Gresham and Fairview. You look up the river just a little bit, and there is, what's the name of that statue there? There's Crown Point. Crown Point is up there. It's a well-known tourist attraction area. Been there many times. Then look beyond, above Crown Point, there's mountain. Oh, there's framed in the window. And I turned to Ross and I said, "You want what?" He wasn't after money. I thought he was. He was after us. He was after us. He wanted some players on this thing called the Dental School of Loma London. I said, "Well, let's go take some conference rap time." So Barney and I had just been talking together. It's been probably 5 minutes. Okay, we'll go. Why? Can't give you an answer for that, but it seems appropriate. So now comes the time. I need to meet the dean. I haven't met Prince yet. So we're going down to San Francisco, drive down there for another event. And I meet Dean Prince at the Mark Hopkins Hotel. Tell him I like him. He went first class. I like that. Just top of that Nob Hill, that's pretty special. I like San Francisco as a favorite city. I'm not going to say that today, because I know too much about it now. And what I like, what I see I don't like. But at that time, it was great. So Webb said, "You're going to go to Ann Arbor, go to get an advanced program. You'll leave in a year. You're going to go to our house, our practice." We did that. The complication was with the house, because it didn't sell as quickly as we might wish. And thank you, ma'am. And Martin was stuck with the idea I have to drive from Camas, Washington to Los Angeles. That doesn't sound like much. You just learned to drive 2 months ago. And so driving that far, she was pregnant, 6 months pregnant with Kelly. Already had Mark, he was here, and Chris. So, because I couldn't come back and do any of this. I had to go back, I had to go to school. So she was stuck with getting everything together, and somehow she did it. So I come back and found her, and she'd driven down there pretty good. All she had done was hit a deer and ding up a Coke machine. Other than that, she made pretty good time. That's pretty good with that stuff. End up at having to, it's August of '54. First dental class has already started. Been there for a year. And we are now going to come down and join Loma London in August. August, Dad probably likes it, but I think it's a stupid time of year to go to Loma London. But they had no choice, they had to be there to do that. So we were there in late August. The footings of the dental building are in. The walls are coming up. not all the way up, but they're up. And by the way, we have a dental clinic. It's the first level of the old pathology building, which is adjacent and across the street from what used to be Gentry Gym. 13 chairs are there, temporary, strung across the floor. So, and Harold Schnepper is in charge of this operation. And we all take our turns going down and do instruction. I want to make a comment about something here that shows up. I want to pay tribute to a guy named Niels Jorgensen. Whether you guys know or not, he's vital to your success. Very vital. Because his ideas as to how to treat patients became a guiding landmark of the faculty of Lund. I trust it's still the same. If it isn't, shame on you. Because what he projected was interesting. I went to visit his office down in Wilshire, and how he treated patients opened my eyes to a lot of things. Just Hayden was of help to him. But I'll tell you, Niels Jorgensen, that Dane, means an awful lot to Loma Linda that some of you guys don't even understand. Because he was that good. Not showy, not at all, but boy could he produce. Along the same line, I want to comment on one other person, Yiming Lee. I think he's still on the scene, or maybe close to it at Loma Linda currently. I first came across him in Shanghai, and he came and joined the faculty at IU. And then Charlie Goodacre takes him from IU and takes him to Loma Linda. And I think it's been very helpful to you guys to sustain your academic credentials, whether you recognize it or not. And it's my game to play, so I understand that. Well, these two guys deserve some special accolades, in my opinion. If no one else gives them, I will. Because I think it's important that they're understood that they are appreciated for what they do. Our first year laboratory at that time was in the first level of the old sand. Anyone understand what the old sand means? Good. I remember our personal offices were at the first level also of the same building. And I remember going to lunch, and the lunch was in at the old nurse's dorm, I guess it was. I remember Roger Lindner was in the line in front of me. And he made the statement, he said, the only reason this building is still standing is the termites are holding hands. And he was right, because this building is contemporary of Ellen White. And obviously didn't stay much longer after that. But the time of this putting things together from where we are to where you are today, people couldn't even begin to understand that differential. Yes, that was an area that's contemporary of Ellen White. Everything's in motion. Early September, Web Prince calls a meeting of the faculty. So, nothing unusual about that itself. But there's one thing about it. His office is in what was then the administration building of the university. And we had to come down from up above, up in the old sand, down along Anderson Street, where you don't allow cars anymore, I'm sure. And he has us show up at some afternoon. So Lloyd, Harold, and I were coming down from the old sand, and we're old friends, we're classmates, we're pretty casual, and probably pretty little shows on the way down to the office. Trouble is, Web Prince could see this, because his office is his window was open to that area. And when the meeting started, you have no idea, he lit into us because we were 5 minutes late. And what we heard from him, you couldn't believe. He tore us up and down one side and down the other. Promptness is a virtue, no question about it. Do you want to know something is strange? Very, very strange. Now you can take the three of us who are catching the brunt of this activity. We could easily say, who needs this? Who needs this? We can do our own thing and be successful. We don't have to listen to this kind of stuff. You want to know something? That would have been the focus of a lot of comments at the water cooler. That incident, there's a special significance, whether you understand it or not. That incident never, ever was discussed by anybody of the group that was there or by our one. Mark never heard of it. Well, obviously, this is the kind of fuel that fuels all kinds of controversies. Never heard a whisper about this till today. It's never been mentioned. It's never been brought up in any public forum. And to me, this is one big item, if you want. I'll give it away to the formation of your dental school. Because we could have destroyed it very quickly right then. But it didn't happen. The good Lord has better ideas than that. We never lost our respect for the dean. We didn't badmouth him. Nothing. We just picked up and went on as if nothing had happened. There's no reason for that from human perspective. Just none. So if you want a good key as to why the dental school succeeded, that's it. This has never been brought to the public before this time. You know, I miss those guys. Contrary, obstinate at times, myself included. But I sadly miss every one of those guys and the contribution they were able to make and did make. I trust the same kind of stuff is happening there now. This is something that gets ordained. It isn't something you put together by design. It's something that has to spontaneously flame and go. And it did. There's no question the dental school is going to succeed. No question about it. And there's no question about our friends. We invited people to come by and give lectures. Remember in 108? They came by and gave lectures. Every one of them, not a one of them would turn us down. And they came from San Diego, came from West LA. And I think in George Hollenbeck, who I worked with quite a bit. Don't make him mad. He's hard to deal with. An old Scotsman. But I tell you, that's I want to do one other thing now. I want to go through a list of dental students, some of whom you don't know, because it's been too long ago. But some of you do. Some of you do. I think we'll favor them on Bernard, Bird, and Mary Ellen. What they mean to you guys, you have to know it's terrific. They led a personality. I don't know if they were happy all the time. I trust they were. And I enjoyed her singing to be sounded along with it too at the same time. I remember Ray Wallen and Ronnie Zane. I enjoyed watching them play volleyball. Wallen was the tallest guy in the class. Ronnie's name was the shortest. Ronnie was talking all the time, and he'd retrieve more stuff, and Walden put it away. It was interesting to watch. I'm not saying they won an awful lot, but they were interesting to watch them play volleyball. When I was there, Loma Linda was the farm. Anyone remember hear that term before? And there was agriculture, there were cows, everything was there down where the railroad tracks are. I'm thinking of Bob and Gwen Kinzer. Guys, terrific talent in ceramics and so forth. They meant an awful lot to you guys. Thoughts well of it and so forth. I like that. Remember Hugh Love, who was president of the class of '61, to which I was the advisor for 4 years. Terrific. Don Peters helped organize the mission program, mission trips that were taken. Remember, he had me do one of them, go on them one time. And I'm recalling, this is in Guatemala, and the lady presented herself on all her teeth out. And we looked at it, yeah, they should all come out. But we didn't want any lousy publicity either. So we said, take half of them out. So they did that. Then we're going to go someplace else and be there next morning, 10, 15 miles away. And we were there. Guess who was the first one in line? The person with half her teeth gone. If she can survive that, she can have the rest of them out too. So, mission experience, that sort of, made a big impact on us. Saw Ron Fritz not long ago. I remember he had a tremendous accident of some sort. Okay?
Almost fatal.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the guy made it. You worried us though, buddy. You worried us. But someone else had a better design than what we did, so that's fine. Appreciate Bob Lee, the tremendous activity and inclusion with instrumentation and so forth. One morning, Webb Prince comes in and says, I got a problem. There's a problem up at the University of Oregon, and that's my alma mater. Were there 7 of you? 7? I thought there were only 5. They want them, they're going to kick them out of Oregon, and they're wondering if we take them in. And Bill, we probably talked about that for these 4 minutes. And they said, oh, bring them on. Bring them on. It has been to our, it has been to the schools' advantage to have done just that.
There's 2 of us left. Go right here.
Well, try to stay honest with each other so you can. Sorry to see so many of you gone, but I'm glad it worked out. Even though I thought Oregon was stupid at the time. I remember Carl Lofgren. I used to go to their place on Riverside. I know he's having some problems at the time, I understand. He also was the class of '61. I mentioned Bill Mallory because it makes me think of his brother Jack. I don't dare say anything about it because I'm not sure if I have license to do so, so I'm not going to. But he was stationed in Tokyo while I was in Korea. It may be that he's mentioned in one of the books by Bill O'Reilly in The Killing of the Rising Sun. Something to think about. To me, it's fabulous. I'm sorry, I can't share it with you. I I'm thinking of Marlene Schultz, the first female student of Lund School of Dentistry. Her dad is a well-known dental personality of Southern California. Comes along the line is Patty Herndon. Not that she's known, she's not married to that name. She accompanied me with one of our trips to Guatemala. And I appreciate her activity. I remember Dean Bonley. I'm not sure what the score is with him now, I don't know. But he apparently had a business acumen that just is outstanding, if everything is true. But they've operated whether in Asia or here. But he put some interesting things in motion, and if they ever came to fruition, I don't know. The personality I remember quite well is John DiVincenzo. Of all the people I've known in my lifetime, he probably comes close to being the brilliant one. Not saying the others are dumb or anything of the kind, but he just has some fun. And by the way, he played tennis for the University of California tennis team, so he's pretty good at tennis. Yeah, a little bit, I need all kinds of help. Charlie Petkill from Maine. He pulled a trick on me, which I've never forgotten. He's taking an exam, written exam, not a big deal, but a written exam in the classrooms. And as he's leaving the room, he puts on a fit, a medical seizure. And he does it so well that his classmates try to keep him out of trouble. He was very good. I just sat there and watched him. It was a good performance, and I'd give him A for effort. After about 15 seconds, he gets up and walks out of the room. Did I do anything about it? No, it was too good a performance. No, I didn't do anything about it. Not at all. I remember Del Herrick. Very talkative fellow, nothing wrong with that. He was a good aviator, good pilot, terrific pilot, had a good reputation. I remember him talking to a group, classmates or whatever. He said there are old pilots and there are bold pilots, but there are no old boat pilots. And he felt the same problem himself. Reminds me of Jerry Pettis, who didn't make it back from Palm Springs to San Bernardino one day in his private plane. He was a commercial flyer at one time, even at the time he was a congressman. I remember Dwayne Weiper. I'm working in the clinic one day, and a guy comes alongside and is the next unit right next to me, and he's got a metal hat on. And on the hat there's a sign that says bomb shelter, B-A-U-M shelter. Well, anybody who's been to school knows what's going on. That's right. I just cracked up. It was just downright funny. And Dwayne and Charlie and they accompanied us, the Indiana group, to China some years later. So. I'm thinking of Larry McEwen. He was a great cartoonist. And he teamed up with Thomas Dent. They formed an organization called Thomas Dent. And they take and make some snide remarks against the administration once in a while. I thought they were pretty humorous myself. Sometimes they were true. But that was student life. Didn't discourage that. It's okay, it's within the bounds of respectability. Gary Gregory and Ray Rawson, about the class of 68, I think. They wanted a project on which they could compete on the national level for first prize. And I gave them an idea, and they ran with it beautifully. And they won first prize. It's the photographic study of gold flow. And it's still unique. No one's ever emulated it. It has not been done. Actually, I wouldn't want to. But you can see the gold being melted, gold alloy, makes the circuit from the crucible into the mold. And that has never happened before, nor since. And as far as I know, I think Ray Ross, I think, became a member of the Nevada State Legislature as part of his activity. He was a Mormon guy. Gary Gerke did something up north. Now, Herb Branson, Gary Moon, Dwayne Nash, Ed Schreck, and Butch Ayler, they assisted me as I saw patients from time to time. And they're the ones that kept me out of trouble. Now, remembering Ed Schreck, I learned a lot about teenage life in Loma Linda. It was interesting, but for the life of me, for the benefit of Ed and myself, I can't remember a word of it. But I remember it was exciting at the time. So, Butch Ayler, wasn't he president of your
California Dental Association.
Very good. And I remember his sister, Joni Ayler. She was a faculty in dental hygiene. And Kelly went to school during that time. Dear friends, if they are, because I worked with them closely. It all boils down to something. I like baseball. And I like Yogi Berra. I hate the Yankees. I like Yogi Berra. And he's a philosopher. I remember him saying, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. It's been a pleasure. I've probably overdone it a bit. I've never done this before. Probably never do it again. But nonetheless, life is built of memories, both good and bad, and you build what to avoid and what to build on. You've done that all your life, and that's not going to change. I sort of miss having been the last 40 years away from Loma Linda. But I'll tell you, my experience in Indiana has been also rewarding. As I've said to some, I've hugged many a Muslim student and Buddhist. Where does it take us? I have no idea. But I know there's some Muslims, and there's some Buddhists, and there's some Adventists that like each other. And what more can I do? And I appreciate this morning's presentation by Art. I think that's the more we should work on. I'm not interested in people who want to polish our theology. I don't think that's where we're going to get the best results. There are other things that need to be put under the microscope, massaged, put into practice. That might attract some people. You've been a great audience, better than you should be. But you don't have to do this very often, so cheers to you.
How many people are there here that were taught by Bob Lund? Raise your hand. Yeah. Thank you so much. You're such a dear friend. You know, when Harry and I and the other 5 came from Oregon, you welcomed us with open arms, and we weren't very well thought of. At least we didn't feel like we were well thought of up there in Oregon because they kicked us out.
Yeah.
You know, we had a dean there, Harold J. Noyes, who was...
He's pretty dumb.
He was a dentist. He was an MD. And he was an orthodontist,
Yes.
pardon me. That's about 3 chairs above God.
Couldn't straighten him out, even as an orthodontist.
Oh, and the church tried to straighten out, and that just made him mad. So we all transferred it. You're welcome to sit. Thank you so much. Last spring, Bug wrote me a letter. He says, you're the only person I know how to get contact with down there, but I'd like to come and say something about NASDAD in the beginnings. And I jumped right on that. I wrote right back to him and I said, we'll make it happen. And I talked to Katie and Doyle Nick, and here you are. Thank you so much.
Just one thing, how about that slide? How about got that? There's about a dozen slides, you might want to take a look at it. These are the bombs and the Lunds at happier times. You might recognize Goodacre, one of your deans here for many years. We left Indiana in the same truck, by the way. So he came back on his own. Here I am. This is doing my best to get along with the Barney Stone.
Yep.
If you ever get a chance, go to Ireland. This is what you do. This is Greta Bogland. Greta Bogland. This is Leif. This is in central Norway at the end of the Sognefjord. And we were on a cruise at that time. There's Dick Taggart on the left, class of about 62, Peggy. Dwayne Nash, class of about 64, and Judy and Marvin. Happy times. This is an interesting event right here. This is the conclusion of an honor flight that I took about a year and a half, 2 years ago, from Washington to Washington, D.C. And went to see all the monuments, and what was impressive there, the changing of the guard of the unknown soldier. Man, that's spectacular. And they're in command, there's no question about it. We sat there and I said, Washington, just Washington. Because that's also a spiritual event, sort of thing. Out there guarding. Melvin, Marv, and the Alps. Something we love to do. You love? Somebody might remember you love.
Well, we got a clinic name for him now.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
How about that? He deserves it. He didn't make a lot of noise, but you could tell where Hugh was. You knew where he was all the time. And then if I get all cleaned up and dressed up like a Norwegian, that's what it looked like. Here's the good old Lund in the old days. Lloyd, and Hopkins, and myself, and Harold Schnupper. This is taken in Italy. Lloyd with Alvin and Mark, and back in the Alps. We had great times together. Great times. Oh, this is my brother on the right. And where's his wife? Bert and Everett. There we are, Bert and Everett. And this is Ben Grant. We're on the Road River. And I had a breakdown, and he's trying to help. I can't imagine as much help, but we had tried to repair the things that are wrong there. Yes. Mark and Lloyd. We had happy times together. We never got wealthy, but no one said we would. But life has been worth the living. And you guys helped make it so.
Well, thanks a lot for sharing with us. We appreciate it. That was great. Any questions specifically we want to direct? Yes.
What year were you president of NASDAD?
He asked what year were you NASDAD president?
94.
94, okay. I need coaching.
And where was the convention that year?
New Orleans. I remember going to New Orleans. It was an interesting situation. I'm not sure if that was the year or not. But Constitution Hall, was that with all the jiving music and so forth? And so we were there in the hall, and Mark is standing in line and some creepy character tries to molest her. And she expects me to haul off and slug him. I'll pick his eye up. I'm going to entice anybody. And so I had to move somebody else, and so she wouldn't have said, I made some lame excuse that, well, they always want something to pay attention to you, so obviously this is probably your time to enjoy what you got. Ever since, it was an interesting year, that there's a
college up in Michigan.
vocalist that we had, not Diamond, but
We went up to college.
he's sold out quite a few records. That's the first time I've seen him in that circle.
Michigan. What is that college up there?
I think we're set. Thank you guys for coming out. We'll see you all tomorrow for some CE class, about 7:45-ish, and I think it's right here. And banquet tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, some photos at 4:30. Read the schedule because it's better than me.
Yeah, and tell them the photos are now where we had our meals.
Oh, okay, so for photos we're gonna do out where we had lunch today. So, very good. All right, we'll see y'all.
What's the entire perspective? Hawaiian?
Whatever you want.
The entire is Hawaiian. Yes, that's great.
Yeah, and okay, from now
I will
on,
not
all
be
we're
putting
having
on
is
my tuxedo
continuous
tomorrow.
speaking. So basically, one person speaking, and a projector.
Coat and tie is too hard.
Oh, Richard. Okay, good.
Get that off you.
This is for Clyde Rogan camper.
Yeah, I do.
Tangled here.
Here's something you need then.
Okay.
Here, I'll take photos.
It's like the. Need that one?
We don't need it, but need it just for.
Right, right. Got it. Thank you.
Now a little further back.
Yeah.
And I know
Up to Charles Smith.
Well, the meeting was announced, but our men had been.
He said, don't worry, we're going to graduate, but you just need to go home and get well. We already
What year was that?
79.
So, 71 and 72.
You made the best of it.
Very smart.
Bad deal.